there was a knock on the door. The secret knock. One of the disciples cautiously opened the door, and Thomas quickly entered. As soon as the door was closed and locked, one of Thomas's fellow disciples blurted out, "It's a shame you weren't here yesterday." "We can hardly believe it," another added. Hardly believe what? What happened yesterday? Is one of you going to tell me, or you're just going to stand there with those silly smiles on your faces? In fact, how can you be smiling at a time like this? "It's Jesus," they told him. "We've seen him in this very room." "What?" said Thomas. "You mean you've seen his ghost?" "No, it wasn't the ghost. It was Jesus. He stood exactly where you are standing now." Softly, Thomas answered, "Look, I know we're all in shock, but believe me, it was just wishful thinking. You simply imagined it. We all want Jesus to be alive, but we've got to face the facts. He's dead." They all shouted, "No, Thomas, he's not. Jesus is alive. He's not a ghost. It wasn't wishful thinking. Jesus is alive." Okay, let's suppose for a moment that he is alive. How did he get into this room? We always keep it locked. And who could have told him our secret knock? We don't know how he did it. He just simply appeared. He stood right where you are now. Thomas paused. "What makes you so sure it wasn't wishful thinking or a ghost?" He spoke, and we knew that voice, just as Mary did when he whispered her name. Then he showed us his hands and his side, and we could all see the wounds of crucifixion and where he was speared. "You've just got to believe us, Thomas. Jesus is alive." "I'm sorry," said Thomas. "I know you mean well, but I simply cannot believe you." Peter voiced their anger. "How can you say that? We've been together every day for the past 3 years. We've heard his teachings. We've seen his healings. We've witnessed his miracles. How can you doubt your friends like that?" "You know me," said Thomas. "I always need proof. I'm sorry to doubt you, but unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe it." Days passed by, and despite their best efforts and their strongest arguments, they could not convince Thomas that what they had seen and heard was real. It was now a week since Jesus had first appeared to his followers in their locked room, and Thomas still had not and could not accept their word. Suddenly, into this locked room, Jesus appeared. In a voice they all knew so well, Jesus greeted them as he had done so many times before. "Peace be with you." Thomas jumped up. He knew that voice. He knew that face. Thomas was totally confused, not knowing what to think, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to feel. Jesus turned to Thomas. "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." It was as if Jesus had heard the words Thomas had spoken to his fellow disciples when they first told him that Jesus was alive. Jesus was offering Thomas all the proof that Thomas thought that he needed. Without stepping forward, without reaching out, Thomas fell to his knees. At that moment, Thomas knew, he knew completely, he knew exactly, he knew who Jesus was and is. My Lord and my God. I wonder how many people do we know? How many people do we know who, like Thomas, ask for proof? How often, when we offer them what we regard as proof, our own experiences, what we have seen and heard, our careful explanations of how the words of the Bible reveal the truth, how often these proofs have been dismissed, just as Thomas kindly dismissed what his friends told him. Like Thomas, they may have in their mind what it is that they think will be a proof for them. And that's seldom the proof that we try to offer. Yet didn't Paul tell us that we all have all the proof we need right before our eyes? What may be known about God is plain. For since the creation of the world's invisible qualities, since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, been understood from what has been made, so that we are all without excuse. Yet sadly, so many simply rebuff this proof, or indeed any other proof we care to offer. They dismiss any proof we or anybody else may offer with what they may term rational or scientific arguments. Arguments based on a simple understanding of rational and a naive understanding of science. In truth, they, just like Thomas did, they have closed their minds against any proof that we may offer. That is, until they come to a moment in their lives when their closed minds, like the closed door of the disciples' room, when they're locked in worldview, like the locked door of that room, when their closed minds are opened just enough to be entered by the peace-bringing presence of Jesus. And in that moment, we will all, like Thomas, fall to our knees and proclaim, "My Lord and my God." So we must pray for all those who state, with closed minds and closed hearts, that they need proof, and then they will believe. We must pray that they will come to that moment when they will be open just enough to know that Jesus is, and always was, and always will be, standing right before them, offering them all the proof that they think they need, but which they never really needed at all. We must pray for the Thomases we know and the Thomases we don't know, praying that they too may know that moment when they too can proclaim, "My Lord and my God."